Boys in Green beating Scotland with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Paris in September.
Mainly dry with clear spells tonight, just a few showers around with lows of 8 to 11 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome along to Thursday's Off the Ball. Will with you, sitting in for Nathan on this Thursday evening. Plenty to look forward to between now and 10 p.m. Waterford in an All-Ireland Camogie final for the first time since 1945. They will go up against red-hot favourites Cork, who are hoping to win the title for the first time since 2018 on Sunday. We will be joined by former Dublin boss Adrian O'Sullivan, who has managed many of the players involved at third level, and Galway's Anya Keane, who has faced off against Cork 4 times this year. Galway won on 3 of those occasions, but Cork won the one that really mattered, which was the All-Ireland semi-final a couple of weeks ago. They'll be along in the next hour to look ahead to the final on Sunday. Keane Tracy will be with us just after 9 o'clock. Ireland getting ready for their opening World Cup warm-up game against Italy. He'll be looking at the selection, which includes a chance for Jack Crowley to impress at number 10 this weekend. And John Giles is with us. He'll be giving his opinion on Vera Pauw versus Katie McCabe, and also the Community Shield between Man City and Arsenal this weekend. Delighted to say Arthur O'Dea is here with us. How are you, Arthur?
Not so bad, Will. How are you?
And we've Richie McCormack as well. How are you, Rich?
Men, how are you?
Look, we're struggling along at this point, Richie, but we cannot complain as the week comes towards an end. And look, there's plenty for us to have a look at, including the football tonight. Before we dig into it, how are things going in the Conference League qualifiers at the moment?
A phenomenal result for Derry City, I have to say, Will, this evening. They are through to the third qualifying round of the Conference League. Cian Kavanagh, Sadhu Diallo and Michael Duffy all found the net in a 3-3 draw away to Koops of Finland. Derry win the tie 5-4, and they'll play the Kazakh side Tobol next. They were beaten 3-1 at home by Basel this afternoon, but went through 4-3 on aggregate at the expense of the Swiss Giants. The winners, as I say, of that tie. And Dundalk must overturn a 3-1 deficit at home to KA of Iceland. There's a 7:45 start at Oriel Park. 4 changes from last week's defeat as well in Iceland for Dundalk. Shamrock Rovers boss Stephen Bradley, though, has abandoned hope of progress from their tie with Ferencváros. The Hoops resume 4-0 down from the first leg at Tallaght Stadium, where kick-off is at 8 o'clock. But Derry, so far at least tonight, Will, the main story of the night.
Yeah, look, that's an incredible result, Rich. I was kind of keeping an eye on it earlier on, come up to half-time when they were 2-1 down, and you're thinking this is going to be difficult to try and turn this back around. 3-3 at the time on aggregate, and it is a bit of an extra boost not to have Basel in the next round as well.
Yeah, I mean, God only knows how that Tobol tie is actually going to go, because I don't think many would have suspected, looking at the draws the way they've panned out, that the giants like Basel will be falling in the third or the second qualifying round of the Conference League. But Tobol did the job, got the 1 goal they needed tonight to put them out. But again, we're beaten 3-1 at home, so there will be ample cause for Derry City to have at least a little bit of hope going over to there, maybe being able to do a job on them as well here at home at the Brandywell. It's phenomenal for Rory Higgins and his team to have gotten that far in Europe. You look at the results across Europe as well. We pointed out KI and how they beat Ferencváros, Shamrock Rovers opponents in the Champions League qualifiers. They went and did a job on Hacken last night as well on penalties in the Champions League. So there's been a lot of odd results across Europe so far in the qualifiers, and who's to say that Derry can't continue to benefit from them, and maybe even, who knows, the other 2 sides tonight.
Yeah, like, I mean, in fairness, Rich, when it comes to KI, not that long ago I remember sitting in the Aviva and watching Dundalk defeat them on their run through to the group stages, and now you see what KI are doing in the Champions League qualifiers. The other benefit is, if you're KI, the further you go on to this, the better chance you have of dropping into the Europa League if they lose that next round one.
100%, yeah, and that's something that the KI will clearly have their eye on. But yeah, like, everything's like, what, 2 rounds away now, Derry City perhaps from the group stages. That's what they'll be looking at. They'll be in the playoff round after getting past Tobol, if they manage to do that over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, well, probably that's the one thing that it's probably going to do, is probably going to cause them harm and distraction in terms of trying to hunt down Shamrock Rovers in the title race, which is where Rovers will probably benefit from going out tonight, as we all suspect that they will. That's going to be something to look out for, because it has happened before where teams haven't been able to necessarily juggle their European exploits and being able to play catch up with the amount of games that will be put on hold. They have done it already, whereby they've front loaded those games that were going to be caught out, but they will be into territory now where they're looking to play games in hand, and that's always a tough place to be, especially when you're trying to chase down somebody. And then you have a team like Bohemians, let's say, who are 5 points Drift, I think, and are in a rich vein of form and have the top scoring striker of the moment in their squad. And things are looking rosy in that garden, and no outside distractions for them. So could be an interesting next couple of months, Will.
With Max Mata on the move across to England as well.
Yes,
he could very well end up top scorer for the season, Richie.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Jonathan Afolabi is in the absolute form of his life at the moment, and from my perspective at least anyway, well, long may that continue.
See, Arthur, as a Sligo man and a Sligo Rovers well-wisher, I would say at least.
Definitely a well-wisher. In that he wishes them no specific harm.
I don't wish anyone any particular harm, yeah.
Once again, Sligo allowing potentially a guy who could have been top scorer in the league again this season. So we've had Johnny Kenny in recent seasons. Aidan Keane, I should say, has now gone abroad. They were top scorers in the league over the last couple of years. Sligo are really good at getting good scores and then watching them leave.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'd be very interested to know what even... Because obviously with Sligo there's slightly unique in terms of the geographical side of it as well. Well, and it's not like an overwhelming thing, but like it is that bit harder, I suspect, to keep people there that bit longer once that interest does arise elsewhere. Like you do kind of underestimate it, like for such a small country, like you are still, if you're calling kind of Dublin the hub, you're still about 3 hours away from that in Sligo, and it is tough considering that you're especially kind of bringing players in from abroad to keep them there that bit longer. It's just that bit more difficult. But I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Rich.
He's moved to Shropshire.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like it's still you are that bit further away from the action as such.
Yeah, that's true. It's fair. Like it's always going to be a tough ask for League of Ireland clubs to hang on to talented players like Bohemians in the next few weeks. You would imagine they're going to lose James McManus, for instance, who's only broken into the first team a year. He's only just had his leaving cert. He's going to go. Drogheda will get to have lost one of their best young players as well. But when you have brought in quote unquote foreign talent from abroad, like Max Mata, if an English club comes calling, there's no refuting that. He's going to go, and he has gone, and he's going to be playing at a very decent level. Clearly Matty Taylor, like what he saw when he was scouting him over the last few weeks, he's going to be going into a League One side. He could possibly even be a teammate of James Collins, a former, current, who knows, Republic of Ireland striker who may bounce down to the New Meadow as well. So like it's only a good move from Mata, but it shows, it's a shop window, a decent shop window at the moment. It's just Sligo, you would hope, have pocketed a decent fee from that, because I think he had 18 months left on his contract. So if that was the case, I don't think it would have been necessarily a derisory figure. It's not going to be breaking any banks by any means, but it's certainly going to make it worth their while to let him go.
Every time I hear Matty Taylor's name, Arthur, did you hear Roy Keane's story about him?
Oh yeah, from Sunderland.
Yes.
Yeah.
For anyone who missed it, I know you're probably aware of this as well, Richie. Matty Taylor goes up to have a look at Sunderland. He was considering going to either Bolton or Sunderland at the time. Roy Keane brings him for the full tour around the Stadium of Light, and Matty Taylor says to him in the car park, difficult decision, I'm probably going to have to sell this to the family, so I'm just going to go away and have a bit of a think about this and I'll come back to you. And Keane's like, that's fine, perfectly understandable. And then Matty Taylor texts him as he's driving past him in the car park and says, I've had a thought, I'm going to Bolton. Roy Keane was reading his phone as he watched Matty Taylor's car leave the car park.
Bolton or Sunderland, though, which should you pick?
Pick your poison. I would think Bolton were probably a little bit better at the time, though.
I don't know much of them, but in terms of somewhere to live, like we're talking about the Max Mata swapping Sligo for Shropshire, where are you going to go, Bolton or Sunderland?
I'm sure there are nice places you could live a little bit away from both and commute.
You said that, not me.
I did. Sorry, Bolton or Sunderland aficionados, I apologise already. Rugby, we're going to be talking about it with Cian Tracy a little bit later on. Ireland against Italy at the Aviva at the weekend, and we were intrigued to see who's going to start in the number 10 shirt, Richie, particularly.
Jack Crowley is the man. He's going to get a chance to stake his claim on Saturday night, named it out half for Ireland's first World Cup warm-up game with Italy, as you mentioned, at the Aviva Stadium. Crowley forms a half-back partnership with his Munster teammate Craig Casey. Elsewhere in the backs, Jimmy O'Brien starts a full-back with Keith Earls and Jacob Stockdale on the wings. Robbie Henshaw and Stuart McCloskey partner up in midfield. Dave Kilcoyne, Rob Herring and Tom O'Toole are across the front row. Ian Henderson captains the side from the second row, where he's partnered by Joe McCarthy, the Leinster man making his first start for Ireland. The back row is comprised of Ryan Baird, Caelan Doris and Jack Conan. Tom Stewart, Kieran Frawley and Calvin Nash, meanwhile, will all make their debuts off the bench on Saturday. Head coach Andy Farrell was asked today about what he expects from Crowley on Saturday evening.
he's been going great. I've seen his confidence grow, obviously, from what happened there at Munster. I've been able to navigate and help navigate his team through those difficult periods at the end and get some success. I've seen his confidence grow. The selection at the start of the week for all the players is interesting, isn't it? Because as coaches, you're seeing everyone really get stuck in, and I'm really driving to get better every single day. And then the minute that selection comes, it's a different week, isn't it? As far as managing the team and being the main general as far as Jack's concerned. So we've been keeping a close eye on that, and he's been excellent so far. Excellent so far. Day off today, in this evening. Captain's run tomorrow. Hopefully the confidence continues.
Well, before we talk about the rest of the team, Hank on YouTube at the moment. Will you let Arthur know I'm a massive Arthurite, which, is what it came from the slight tangent this week. Halfway through his thesis, he's in the 600s that have downloaded already this year. I don't like Bob Dylan. That's how much of an Arthurite I am. How are you dealing with this, Arthur?
Seek help, Hank. Seek help, because I am no help to you.
Is this not perfect Thursday evening entertainment to read your thesis?
No. I mean, what possible use could it be to him? It's bringing you nowhere, Hank.
Maybe he'll become a Bob Dylan fan.
No, I definitely won't do that for you.
Do you get any benefit from the amount of people who've downloaded this?
No.
No residuals?
Zero. No residuals. Zero. It's all out there for free. That's unfortunately the way it is.
There you go. You got to work hard as an Arthurite to try and win his love, Hank. That'll be my message to you.
No, don't. No message to you. Don't do that. Don't even think about it. Follow Will. He's great. He goes everywhere. He's loads of stories.
Sean in Tala. Sorry, lads. Can you get Richie to clean his glasses? Ask him who's actually second ahead of Derry and Bowes. Saints for the league.
Temporarily at St. Pat's, yeah.
Well, everything's temporary.
Everything is temporary. But yeah, like the day you're worried about St. Pat's is really the day to start digging your own grave, isn't it?
I mean,
bloody hell. Right, St. Pat's fans, I do not associate myself with these comments from Richie.
Bring it on. Well, you just slagged off the whole of Bolton and Shrewsbury and Sunderland, so by all means.
Far less likely to come after me than St. Pat's fans.
The Sosnick are coming for you, Will.
Right, C on the text 53106. Reasonable question. We'll throw this out to the audience. Has anyone else ever played 6, 7 and 8 for Ireland like Caelan Doris will do on Saturday? So this is Caelan Doris's, I think, third game he's ever played at Openside. So he'll have played all 3 positions for Ireland. They want to try and work him out as a potential 7 backup, but I don't know, Richie, if I can think of anyone who's played right across the back row.
No.
Emergency situations, maybe.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I don't think anybody's been named to start. I'm scanning my brain. You're probably going back to like the amateur days. It would probably be the last, back to early 90s, possibly the last time. But I'd struggle, to be honest with you. So I'd need somebody more learned than me, somebody possibly more learned than the Arthurites out there to help us try and ascertain who's started at least in all 3 positions across the back row. But we are, I think, heading back a number of years before anybody's done that. Yeah, for anyone who's texting 53106, I don't want this to be somebody stood in at 7 for a few minutes when someone was injured and therefore completed this. But I think 3. Well, there's a shout.
Text would be nice.
Yeah. Someone's given a text saying Sean O'Brien, which is a decent shout. I actually don't know, but that is somebody who would have been well able to. By all means, yeah. Jerry on YouTube says Dennis Leamy played all 3, definitely. Leamy's definitely, Leamy's a good shout. Yeah. Okay, we'll have to verify all this. There you go, see. But I tell you, the very learned listeners and watchers of Off the Ball were straight in, and I'm sure there's going to be more suggestions as well, but there you go. Someone else has followed in with Sean O'Brien could play them all, which isn't quite the same thing, I suppose. But did he play them? Yeah, well, that's, so I don't know, Texter. Yeah, well, obviously, naturally, he would have played at 7. I presume he would have got some game time at 6. Did he play games at 8? There we go. Keep them coming, 53106, and on YouTube, we'll try and verify them. I'm sure there are fact checkers out in the office somewhere. Someone is scrolling through ESPN Scrum Info or whatever it's called now, and it's like trying to see where certain people played. Look, again, keep them coming. World Cup, this has been fantastic fun, Richie, the last couple of days, because I was watching Germany earlier and all the pre-match talk was they've handed out a 6-0 beating, and despite the fact that today is, you know, a potential banana skin, they should still beat Korea and qualify for the next round, but the Germans are out. another of the pre-tournament favourites crashing out at the group stage. Germany held to a 1-1 draw by South Korea in Brisbane. They had 14 minutes as well of added time to try and find a winner there this morning and couldn't. That result, coupled with Morocco's 1-0 win over Colombia, the team Germany beat by 6-0 earlier in the tournament, means Germany are out. Colombia will face Jamaica in the last 16, with the tournament debutants Morocco set for a date with France. Should be a unique one from Morocco's coach Reynald Pedros, former France men's international and a former coach of Lyon, where he won 2 Women's Champions Leagues.
Okay, Anonymous here has come in. Peter O'Mahony has definitely played all 3, was at 8 against the USA in 2013. So even if he is using ESPN Scrum Info, this is very quickly turned around.
This has really fired people up.
Yeah. Jerry on YouTube suggesting Jordy Murphy, and David Wallace did from Anonymous. So
Wallace is a good shout, yeah.
Yeah. And I like how certain that was as well. David Wallace did. It's not David Wallace question mark. David Wallace did.
From David Wallace.
He'd be a good source, in fairness. Right, keep them coming. There are some very good suggestions. Come here. Maybe Caelan Doris's club is not as unique as we initially thought it might be. But so there we go. That is a fantastic result for Korea to get the draw against Germany, and then for Morocco to benefit from it. Like Morocco and World Cups in the last 6 months, Richie. Exciting times.
Loving it. As somebody who's in Morocco for their triumphs back in December, I'm absolutely delighted to see them do well, and the scenes that followed their win this morning over Colombia they'd make somebody with a heart of stone cry tears of joy. Like, they were absolutely immense. Reynald Pedros, as I mentioned himself, the manager, openly weeping on the pitch, players down their knees, jumping and hugging and kissing and dancing. There's something brilliantly unvarnished about this World Cup, and perhaps women's football in general, whereby there's no cynicism about it really. There's no sense of we've done all this before and we're just waiting to see what happens. Like some of the scenes that have followed teams getting through from the group stages have been worth watching as much as some of the games have been absolutely brilliant. And Morocco's this morning were none more heartening. And yeah, Peter O'Mahony did start at number 8 for Ireland against the United States in 2013. So there you go. Bet you can't name who started a hooker that day, by the way.
I can.
Go on.
Rickard Strauss.
Oh, wow.
There's a name for you.
You're getting into that. Like this is what happens with these USC games. You get like players who were capped only a few times, and then again, I think this could be a really good round in the crappy quiz at some stage. Let's not rule that out.
There's a strong Ulster flavour to that team as well, by the way. Yeah. Anyway,
come back to the room.
This is the problem when I get locked on Wikipedia.
It's not the rabbit hole I exactly expected, but there we go. No. Arthur, I was going to ask you with the World Cup, whether this is a good or a bad thing as a neutral. So obviously we've enjoyed the stories of Jamaica, what's happened with Morocco today, but to lose teams, even if they are misfiring a little bit, like Brazil and Germany, might affect what could have been heavyweight games in the next round.
Yeah, look, it's very difficult to say from someone like for the underdog's perspective to kind of find some way to sour that, because of, I suppose, your own outside interest. I tend to think it probably does end up coming back to bite you later on. I mean, typically when there might be more one-sided games in the knockouts. But look, it's not to be sniffed at. It's still great, and ultimately when you still get down to the sort of quarter-final, final four, into the final itself, you will have teams that are of a standard that will make sure it's still entertaining, but it might just have a little short-term gain, medium-term pain, long-term gain. It'll be fine. But it is that's fantastic. Like it's amazing for these countries to be getting that type of, first of all, that sort of exposure, and just that sort of experience is just it can do wonders. Like you'd imagine what it must be like now, and you can imagine even from an Ireland perspective. I know it's not like. Does it
alter our perspective a little bit when you see teams like Jamaica qualifying?
I don't know. Like I don't know the context.
Groups.
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't
groups.
know.
And by no means were we blown out of the water in any of those 3 games either. I think to come away with a 1-goal defeat from an Australia, who are a powerhouse in women's football, is immense. To do a 1-goal defeat against Canada and probably feeling that we should have gone at least a draw, maybe even won the game. I know people can talk about moral victories, but the results were fair, and the results being fair were us fighting above our weight. And that should never be lost sight of. Look who, like I mentioned there, look who Morocco have in charge of them. And this isn't disparaging our manager, trying to compare like with like, but they've clearly put a bit of money into their women's setup when they're hiring somebody who's won 2 women's Champions Leagues to oversee their World Cup campaign. Now, whether or not they lost to Germany or in their opening match 6-0 now is now moot, because you've got somebody of the calibre of Reynald Pedros, who's played senior tournament football for France, who has won 2 women's Champions Leagues, as I mentioned. Those people don't fall off trees, and they certainly don't cost nothing. So there's clearly been money and a plan put into women's football in Morocco to get them this far, and we are a certain ways down the line, I think, and I don't think necessarily we're miles behind, but we'll get there.
Dave, cracking information. Not only did Sean O'Brien play in all 3 positions, but his first 3 starts for Ireland came at 6, 7 and 8.
That's brilliant.
That's pretty damn good. Dave,
we have a great rugby audience, don't we?
We do, a very clued in rugby audience as well. From now on, let's just let the audience do the research. No longer we do plans for our pieces, we just throw it out there. They'll come up with stats.
Yeah.
They'll do the work for us. Good on you.
It's like that time we used ChatGPT and it all went wrong. None of this information is verified. Dave could be totally wrong, but I do trust him. Meanwhile, Richie, we've won a medal in the pool at the World Para Swimming.
Yeah, we certainly have. Even Roisin Ní Riain won gold for Ireland at the Para Swimming World Championships in Manchester this evening. She touched the ball first to the Limerick swimmer in the final of the 100 metre backstroke S13. It's Ní Riain's second medal of the week and the second event in which she has secured Paralympic qualification via her finish. Meanwhile, Ronan Grimes took bronze in the individual pursuit at the Paracycling Track World Championships. They are in Glasgow, and if you'll pardon my on the fly searching, we did have another event in just before 7 p.m. as well, where Eve McChrystal and co were going in the 1 kilometre time trial. We'll get the result on that one a little bit later on. Katie George Dunleavy and Eve McChrystal going, as I say, in the 1k time trial there in Glasgow. Result not yet forthcoming, but bear with me and I'll try and get it for you before we wrap up tonight.
Consider yourself pardoned. Katie George Dunleavy, I would highly recommend as well, watch her In Conversation with Brian O'Driscoll, which is available on our YouTube, where she talks about her most remarkable career and the success she's had since switching to cycling over the last decade as well. While you keep an eye on that, Richie, we talk about Max Mata leaving Sligo, but some other ins and outs across the league today as well. Yeah,
certainly have been. The joint top scorer in this season's SSE Electricity Premier Division moving to League One in England today. Sligo Rovers receiving an undisclosed fee from Max Mata from Shrewsbury Town. The Kiwi striker has signed a 3-year deal at the New Meadow. Meanwhile, Drogheda United have also pocketed an undisclosed fee from Norwich for defender Emmanuel Adegboyega. The 19-year-old has played 22 times for Drogs this season and only signed professional terms with the Louth club 3 weeks ago. And despite being knocked back by Drogheda manager Kevin Doherty in recent days, Cork City still hope to have a new boss in place before the end of the season. Sporting director Liam Buckley has been in temporary charge since Colin Healy quit at the start of May. Cork occupy the relegation playoff spot, and Buckley says they do hope to have someone in place to help them avoid the drop.
Yeah, well, that would be helpful from that end of it, because a new coach coming in, having a look, you'd have to gauge it then on the current staff and myself, where all the players stand and whatever. So it would be ideal, but if it's not the case, it's not to be, kind of way. But from where we're at as a group now at the moment, we want staff and players to take full responsibility for where we're at here, and we will take full responsibility, and we're going to give the right belt right through to the end of the season. There won't be a game now that we turn up. I see any of the players. There's no excuses. It's full blown. We're having the right belt there now to give us a chance of getting out of the bottom two.
Cork's form has been worrying. Newcastle opening up the chequebook as well, Rich.
Yes, indeed, they are. They will pay upwards of €40 million to Southampton for their fullback, Tino Livramento. He's due to undergo a medical before signing a long-term contract at St James's Park. Livramento's former club Chelsea will make a small fee from the sale too. Meanwhile, Chelsea are to sign Robert Sanchez from Brighton. The Spanish goalkeeper will cost an initial €23 million. Talks are ongoing separately indeed for Brighton midfielder Moises Caicedo, who Brighton seemingly don't feel that they will have an adequate bid for before the start of the season. It seems like they're looking for somewhere in the region of £100 million for the midfielder.
At this stage, Arthur, I wonder if Chelsea should just buy Brighton scouts.
Put the
middleman out.
It would be a bit cheaper in the long run. I was surprised they were still buying.
Yeah.
I mean, do they? I'm not been too keeping mad on top of it, but have they cleared out much of their squad yet? I know Mount's obviously gone and a few others.
Yeah, Koulibaly's gone.
Gone. So there's a kind of a little more level, is it?
There's a whole host of players have gone this summer. Yeah, they've had a massive clear out, and there's still others that are, likely to go. Like you look at the likes of Mendy, he's gone off to Saudi Arabia as well. The amount that they've gotten rid of is immense. Like so far, like Loftus-Cheek's gone to Milan, Timo Bakayoko's finally off the books. Azpilicueta went to Atletico Madrid, and N'Golo Kante's gone to Al Ittihad. Kai Havertz to Arsenal. Like they've gotten rid of a lot of players. Pulisic to Milan as well. A lot of players gone, a lot of players still coming in. Like they're still signing defenders for 45 million. There's a guy coming into Sassy from Monaco for 45 mil, who's essentially just cover for Wesley Fofana, for whom they paid I think double that a year ago, but is crocked again. So it's like they're a mad club in terms of what they're able to get away with their spending, but by no means have they finished in the transfer market this summer.
By no means have they spent well either, but they're the changes. Galway Hurdle today on Ladies' Day, Richie.
Crazy art. Zarak the Brave, a 92 winner of the Galway Hurdle, the feature on day 4 of the Galway Festival. The Galway men, or the Paul Tenney men, trained by Willie Mullins, beat 16 to 1 shot Jesse Evans by a head. My mate Mozzie was third at a price of 15 to 2, and the 9 to 1 shot Al Husson claimed the Nassau Stakes. That was the feature on day 3 at Glorious Goodwood.
I'm enjoying the YouTube here, Arthur. Which footballer has scored the longest range hat-trick in history? No answer provided whatsoever. Is this just like question time on a Thursday?
What does that mean? Longest range what? Combined?
I assume it's the combined distance of the goals.
Who'd know that?
Not who knows that, but who would know that? Who cares?
Other people.
Why would anybody have that in the recesses of their brains?
But it's just such a, like, what way, as the crow flies? Like, how are you, the trajectory of the ball? What way does it mark up? I don't know.
These are questions for Frank on YouTube and not for me, Arthur.
Thursday trivia on Off the Ball.
The new slot. I kind of like it. Nathan can deal with it next week. And one final one to get in before we go, Richie. A change on the board at West Ham.
Yes, indeed, there is. And following on, of course, from the death of David Gold, Vanessa Gold has been appointed the joint chair of West Ham following the death of her father. As I say, the businessman and lifelong Premier League fan of the Premier League club died in January at the age of 86. Vanessa says it will be an honour and a privilege to continue their family legacy there at that particular club. And it looks like Katie Georgeson, Levy and Eva McChrystal have had to settle for 6th position, Will, in that final of the 1 kilometre time trial at the Paracycling Track World Championships in Glasgow.
More importantly, Richie, thanks for joining us for Thursday Trivia.
Here's to Rickard Strauss.
Arthur, we'll see you a little bit later on.
Thanks, Phil.
Time for the cash machine.
Your chance to win big.
News Talk's Summer Cash Machine.
Well, somebody will be winning €50,000 before the bank holiday weekend. Taking part is easy. Each day we give you an amount, you take note of it, enter, and if it's you who takes our call at 3 p.m, tell us that amount and you will win the cash. The all-important amount that you need to know is €50,184 and